Hi everyone. We're going to talk about news for the next 10 minutes. My name is Raoul Kaspen. I'm a newly appointed market manager, leader for everything which is new about news and fast-paced production workflow. And I remember I started with Dalet 20 years ago. And a lot of customers at that point of time that I met, one of them told me, you know, an IT-based system doing news in my facility, you will really have to run over my body, you know? My dead body, I would say even. And if you think about it, 20 years later, the challenge is so different, okay? The challenge is not really technical anymore. The challenge is more like how you're going to empower your users with great tools so they can put news faster to air, so they can also have mobile journalism tools, and essentially how we can help you to contribute to be a trustable source of news, right? So that's our mission. If we think back, 2018 has been a great year, and this is thanks to you, thanks for your support. Just in 2018, we achieved 44 projects successfully, and that's 20% more compared to the previous years. So that's enormous. And what explains that success? You know, why are we successful in news? I would say that one of the first reasons is, if you remember 3 years ago here in this room at Dalet Pulse, we introduced the concept of unified news operations. Okay, and unified news operation, what is it? It's really about having all those newsrooms together into one single newsroom. So that's the great thing about it. And how do we do this? I believe that there are 4 pillars. So the first one is what I would call deep functionality. So that's hundreds of features, hundreds of functionalities in the newsroom production system and in the RCS that helps you to cover the news with your formats, with your own way of working, okay? So that's the first thing. The second thing is all the tools from the beginning were developed to be collaborative. So we try to promote as much as possible collaboration across systems, across users, across teams, and of course, across locations. The third one is really having the MAM and the planning inside the product, so to enable you to do true story-centric workflows. And we're going to see how this works. And the fourth one is really having the orchestration at the back end as well, in order to help you to automate all those workflows that used to be manual. Okay, so those are some of the 4 pillars. There would be 33 other reasons I could enumerate about why Dalet is such a great product in news. But the point is, if you think about it, what you can do in news, you can also do that in any fast-paced workflows. So you've got also sports, you've got entertainment, and you've got radio, of course. But before we get into this, I'd like to show you a video from an Australian customer, which is a public organization which is called SBS.
SBS is a national broadcaster that's been around 41 years. Our mission is to tell the Indigenous and multicultural story of Australia to all Australians. We wanted a single system that would bring together our production for TV, radio, and indeed integrate closely with what we do online. In moving to Dalet as a single system, that replaced at least 4 other major systems that we'd had for a number of years. So one of the immediate benefits that we were able to see was clearly there were less vendors to manage, and then we were able to focus people on a single set of tools.
Dalet's been a backbone of our production process now. Whether you're working in radio, whether you're working in the news department, whether you're working in our Indigenous channel, you've got to get the content in, you repurpose it, you then make it ready for air. And whether it's live to air through a production studio or whether it's going out via our online and on-demand platform, Dalet basically provides all of that for us.
So our cross-platform journalists may be asked to do the same story for online, TV and radio. Dalet means that they can use the same media in different ways, quickly and efficiently.
There's multiculturalism. We're a united nation here, and we broadcast over 60 languages, and we're all using the same system. We can go to ALC content and grab the reports from there and just translate it in our languages and record on the same spot. Dalet has been able to facilitate that workflow for us.
The Dalet Galaxy platform was a large process for us to put in place across 3 major sites. 55% of our radio content coming from the Melbourne facility, as well as vast amounts of television production happening in Sydney. And then we have a bespoke facility in Canberra that looks after our political needs down there. So one of the things we needed to do was have a centralised archive process, an ability to be able to share content dynamically between those 3 sites, and for each site to be able to work independently so as not to inhibit the other if there was an issue in those particular sites.
The Dalet system has been beneficial for our sport workflows in several ways. The ability to record and turn around key moments from live sporting events across our many digital platforms to the Australian audience is a major benefit. During the Tour de France, we were able to work more collaboratively and deliver a higher volume of video content than we ever have before.
One of the great things that we love about Dalet Galaxy is the fact that you can actually be agile with the way that you work. You can actually sit down and define your workflows. And as the business changes, the needs of our content creators change, and in fact the audience changes, we can actually steer the production process based on being able to set up BPM workflows, media migration policies, things that allow our teams to be able to work in a smarter and faster way. Whether that be looking at doing things more efficiently, whether that enabling more content to get to the creators and make even better stories and better audience integration. However, I think we've only really just started to look at the top of the iceberg. A system like this continues to gain in its maturity and enables us to continue to hone those business benefits. And I think it's also around us being able to do more in the future, but with the same sorts of resources. And that's really going to be a key definable for SBS.
68 languages, 3 sites, 2 TV channels, radio channels, digital apps, everything together, news, sports, program, into one single solution. Isn't it great? So I want to dig into what we are going to show on the show floor this year, the different new stuff. The first one is really bringing artificial intelligence into your production tools and in your production workflows. So we introduced Dalet Media Cortex this year, which is a framework that integrates different kind of AI technology, being cognitive services such as speech-to-text, computer vision, natural language processing, but also predictive analytics and other kind of tools. So, and recommendation algorithm as well. So it's really designed to be an assistant to the users. So the 3 main functions that it's doing as of now is really to index your content, your poorly documented content. So for example, whatever comes from the ingest or the old stuff that sits in the archive, and automatically index that so it's searchable and you can surface content that you would have not found before. The second aspect is it's got a great process to transform the speech into captions and to align properly captions and intelligently captions into your screens. So subtitles and captions. So it's supported in 34 languages today, and I invite you to see this. It's pretty impressive to see. The last aspect, and that's what you see at the bottom of the screen, is really to recommend to the users as they are typing their story. So Media Cortex understands what the story is about, so it can recommend you with all the content, so all the wires, all the stories, all the videos, and so on. Okay? So that's a great helper for journalists. So that's the first tool that we are showing. The second theme is really about facilitating collaboration. So we've got all those tools around planning and story-centric. So we've got this one single desk on which you can assign stories on any output for any format, okay? So what we added this year is a story-centric viewer. So basically, from any tool, you have access to this story-centric viewer, so you can see which other versions are available. So maybe the radio is working on something, and the TV and other things. Maybe there are other angles, and maybe there are tweets and Facebook posts that were posted. So all of that is kept together under the same story umbrella, and you can now browse easily through the different versions. The third thing is really the Media Bin, which is a new tool to really bring the editorial and the production teams together. So what it does is anyone can drop anything into this tool, okay? It's a shared collaborative tool, and it's got a lot of actionables as well. So from the planning or from the ingest points, in one click, you can line up your different interesting stuff directly in your timeline, okay? So it's much more productive and much more collaborative compared to before. The third aspect is really bringing traditional newsroom along with the social media newsroom. Okay, so the first tool that we are showing about this is the social media harvester, which is also a new tool that is just being released now. And what the social media harvester does is, of course, you can subscribe, to account, to hashtags, and so on. But it's going to automate in the back office a lot of processes that used to be manual before. So let's say you've got this interesting tweet coming up. You just put that in your working zone, and automatically you're going to have all the metadata, all the content which is going to be downloaded. So you conform that to your mezzanine format and so on. And in a click, you can use this for putting a graphic to air or for doing an edit in your timeline. So that's going to facilitate your life. A lot of this used to be manual before, and now we try to automate it as much as we can. Another thing, which is also the SOMI panel, which is not that new, okay? It was also shown last year. However, you need to know that these social media panels, so-called SOMI panel, allows you to manage all your different accounts of social media have. And you can basically schedule your post, you can approve your post, and so on. So all those functionalities are available from there. What we have as well, as Arno mentioned earlier, is this great new tool called Dalet OnePlay. So Dalet OnePlay is, first of all, a studio automation solution. Okay, so it's going to automate your cameras, your lights, your vision mixers, you name it. But it does better than this. I mean, okay, we are going to do your live shows with this, okay, with potentially fewer people. It's going to be to automate a lot of different devices. But then we can use that to automate a lot of things around it, a lot of third-party events. So I take an example. For example, you've got this live interview coming up. Maybe you want to automate the fact that you're going to send teasers on different social accounts, okay? So to attract more audience, so they can maybe connect on Facebook Live to watch your interview. And maybe after the fact, you want to automatically repackage some social posts as well. That's the idea which is behind, and that's very powerful. I invite you to see this as well. The other thing that we are showing very quickly is using the same Dalet OnePlay tool to do visual radio. Okay, so we've got a great installation on the stand, which is showing, camera automation as well as graphic automation. So that's nice to see. And the last theme is really around mobile journalism. Okay, so we attach a lot of importance to this because we want all our tools to be portable. So the first of those tools is really your Dalet on the go, which is your newsroom in your mobile phone or on your tablet. Okay, so you can see from there, your latest assignments. You can browse through the wires. You can also approve the latest stories if you have this ability, and so on. So there are many functions that you can access from your tablet and from your phone. So what's new and what we show as a beta release is Contribution Hub. We are going to talk about it later, but Contribution Hub is really a tool that you can use with no training. So it's going to be a great tool for your freelancers that don't necessarily receive a Dalet training. And they can use their own tool and then upload the content directly to first the cloud before it hits your newsroom system. And this is sold as SaaS, meaning that Dalet manages that for you. And the last point is really remote editing. So we've got this new framework, which is starting with OneCut, which is an editing tool designed to put the news fast to air. But before I talk about this, I'm going to introduce Mathieu Fazani, who is going to drive us through all of this. Thank you.